Handoff, Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores, we roar, ignite the stands.
Hey there, Minnesota Vikings sports fans. Are you guys as ready for football as I am?
Woo!
You betcha. As always, I've got Adam Carlson accompanying me, and Kyle Smith. He's out there too. How are you gentlemen this evening?
Great.
So stoked. Football's back.
That's right. On that note, I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 111 of the Purple People Podcast. 111, I like that number. This one's titled, Leave Britney Alone. We'll talk about why that is in a little bit. But first, we're going to go into the quick hits, and I love quick hits. I say it every week. I love it.
I do too.
They're like mashed potatoes, man. You just can't get enough of them.
Totally.
Chad Greenway no longer working out at the middle linebacker position. Seems like that was an experiment that they wanted to try out that didn't quite go the way they had hoped. Still, I have high hopes for Greenway for a bounce-back season this year on the outside. I guess we could see how that goes soon.
Musical chairs at that position right now.
Those linebacker spots, man, everything's up for grabs.
Chad, you're still my hero for playing with a messed up wrist last season. Don't listen to everybody that hates on you.
Got good news for fans of the Pro Bowl. I know we got a couple of those here. 2015 Pro Bowl, Vikings legend Chris Carter has been named one of the captains. Should be interesting to see how that goes.
That's the first time anyone's ever used interesting and Pro Bowl in the same sentence.
Well, he's going up against a captain that has a little bit of personal beef with him, so it should be fun.
Who's the other captain?
Cowboys wide receiver.
Michael Irvin?
There you go.
Yeah.
Remember that whole thing with Chris Carter saying that his wife should leave him and all that?
I don't, but I will have to Google it.
Yeah, it's kind of personal. It's kind of big. I mean, Michael Irvin definitely hasn't let it go. Speaking of guys that can't seem to let it go, Brett Favre finally has.
That was a good segue.
Good for you. Silver Fox segue. Let's do this.
Brett Favre will have his number retired by the Green Bay Packers this year. Hopefully, 2015. I'm hoping that it's something that they include something with the Vikings a little bit because personally, I like that Favre was a part of our culture as well.
Let me tell you, Adam, how they should incorporate the Vikings. They should retire his number against the Vikings so that we can totally kick their ass that game.
Oh, my
gosh. I would like them to retire the number against the Vikings so that the other players are in attendance and so both teams can really be there. I mean, sure, you can't really invite Atlanta and the Jets there too, but still.
I own a Favre Jets jersey. I don't know what I was thinking. I must have had money to waste. But I just want to say, all that stupidness, and you're right. I love the guy for finally saying, I'm not playing anymore. I might be in the best shape of my life, but I'm not playing. But you know what? He was worried, and God, he's such a girl about it. I love you, Brett. But, I got to worry about my image. I don't want to get booed. If you get your jersey retired, even if it's in Minnesota, which obviously it wouldn't be because he's a Packer legend.
Right.
If you get it retired against the Vikings, everyone in that place is going to stand up and clap for you because
that's true.
Somebody there, it doesn't matter which team, loved you for whatever period of time. I loved your season with him. Obviously, you didn't win a Super Bowl. I wish we did, but best statistical season of your career with Minnesota, and we will always cherish that.
So many passing records from that man. Congratulations on having your number retired and going into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. The Vikings have activated safety Andrew Sendejo from the PUP list. Glad to see that. I have high expectations for Sendejo at the safety position entering this year. The Vikings have released defensive end Raheem Cox. Kind of a surprise for me because I thought that he'd be fighting for a spot on the practice squad or something like that. Honestly, I didn't see it coming, but Thank you to Rakeem Cox for your time with the team. And with that spot on the roster, the Vikings have signed safety Chris Crocker. No, not the one from the viral video crying, looking like he's wearing a little too much makeup about how people can't seem to leave Britney Spears alone. No, not that one. This one is the former Bengal that was working with new Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer when they were in Cincinnati. The deal is worth $955,000, no guaranteed money, only counts as $570K against the cap. Nice, friendly family deal. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Such a smart move. Gosh, I'm such a fan of these little spots. Like I watched, and I encourage everybody listening, please watch Mike Zimmer's press conferences. They are hilarious. I have a joke for that later from something he actually said, and I spit my drink out because it was so funny. But you're bringing in a guy that I'm looking at his stuff right now and his all of his stats. He's been with Cincinnati since 2008, and he was with Zimmer for a while. He said they have a great rapport. But the guy is just, you can tell he's a seasoned vet from looking at the stats. I'm looking over here right now. 15 interceptions, and he's been in the league going in his 11th season, I believe, or 12th. 15 interceptions is amazing.
He has one less interception than the rest of the safeties on the Minnesota Vikings roster combined.
He's going to get a spot somehow. I have a good feeling he's going to end up on the team. And I love the veteran presence because if you guys have watched, and Kyle will tell you about camp shortly, Mike has been drilling Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith. Imagine like him and Captain out there, just a veteran presence in the backfield. Such a great sign. I love it. And it's not that big of a hit on our money. So kudos, Vikings.
A lot of fans are kind of upset that they didn't go after Ed Reed instead of Chris Crocker at the safety position if they're going to sign an older safety. Personally, the familiarity with the system and the head coach is ultimately probably the reason why Crocker was more of a choice.
Ed Reed, really? Like, is this Madden football? Like, no, it's not. This is real life. I like the signing of Chris Crocker quite a bit. It brings, like you guys said, a good veteran presence to this team. And if you look at our roster, we're incredibly young. We don't really have a lot of veterans left anymore. Good thing, but it is, you got to be young, but you got to have some of those older guys in there. And this is exactly the kind of player that Zimmer can bring in. This wasn't like a big flash signing that's going to make a lot of headlines over on ESPN.
No.
But these are the guys that he can win with. And he will make him into a good, solid building block for the Minnesota Vikings.
My favorite thing about Chris Crocker, if you need him at safety, he's good at safety. If you need him to play nickel corner, he can do that. If you need him on special teams, he plays there. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that'll fit in a lot of different places on this team, and that kind of contract for a player like that, a Swiss Army knife,
that could be such a steal. I want to segue into one little thing. We were talking before. Obviously, you guys probably figured out. We talked before the show. Kyle, were you saying was he the guy you met?
No, I met
Chris.
No, I didn't have a chance to meet Chris. I was talking about Eric Lauren.
Eric Laura. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. I'm sorry. I thought it was Chris. But if you get to meet Chris, I'm out in Hampton, Virginia, and he is from Chesapeake, which is not even 30 minutes away. I'm looking at him from Chesapeake, Deep Creek High School. So it's a cool little Virginia tie for me out here. But speaking of the joke, I'll just put it in there because you're talking about a safety transition into corner, and somebody asked Mike Zimmer in the conference this week after practice. It was like, oh, what do you feel about blah 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 safety, getting experience at corner? He's like, well, that's probably why he's a safety. He probably couldn't be a corner.
Ouch.
Oh my gosh, this guy has no filter, and he holds. I've been telling you this all off season. Everybody accountable. Just a cool little funny joke for everybody out there. He's got a sense of humor.
Well, today in camp, I believe Adam retweeted this one, but this tells you the kind of coach that he is. He wasn't liking the way the starting 22 were scrimmaging against one another, so he made him stop right out in front of everyone, whole team, do push-ups on the field. Yep.
He got tired of the team pulling offsides, making false start penalties.
Yep.
He started making the entire team drop and do push-ups every time there was a penalty.
Yep, and when he was asked why he did it, and he was like, I didn't like the way they were playing. Like, it's awesome.
My final quick hit is one that it's kind of not a big deal, but to me, I thought it was kind of cool. Rookie offensive tackle Antonio Tiny Richardson, which Tiny is a hilarious nickname for that gentleman.
He's huge.
He is on record as saying that Everson Griffin is a better player than the number 1 overall draft pick in this year's draft, Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
That is a big endorsement from Tiny since he has gone against both players on several occasions.
That's awesome.
I didn't know.
Everson, the world is yours to take over, sir. The world is in your hands. And see what you do with it.
I didn't know what the hell to think of that one when I first read it, but I hope it's true. Like, I legitimately hope that's true.
I have high expectations for both of those gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that I have for the quick hits. Now we're off to Kyle West here with some training camp observations.
We have a couple other things to get to before we get to that, Adam. First, we have to add in a quicker hit. Former Minnesota Viking Jared Allen did have him and his wife had a little baby daughter. So I think congratulations should be in order for that one.
Absolutely.
Former player.
Good job, Trader. We missed you, man.
Yep.
Not going to miss you 2 times this year, but congratulations.
Nope. But after he retires, we can all go back to loving him full time. And then we haven't done this for a while, but I did a Twitter question of the week. This is something that I like to do during the regular season, and since we are really close to the preseason, I figured I would bring it back. So, this week's question comes from @Mike FWS. He wants to know, are you guys over or under 6 wins this season? I know it's early, and so I don't expect any of us to actually peg a specific number of wins, but real quick, let's go around the table as to whether or not we think the Vikings will win over or under 6 games. Adam, you can kick us off.
I'm going for 1,000 personal wins. Every team has every player is going to have their personal goals. We're going to see the teammates working together to try to achieve things on the field. To me, this season isn't about getting up to 7, 8, 9 wins. This season's about getting things together, making things work out. To be honest, for me, putting a label of wins on this season is pointless.
That was a nice PR Leslie Frazier answer, but I'm gonna peg you over or under 6, Adam.
I am not going to answer that. I'm gonna save that for our preview show.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna go over. I think they can, if they hit their stride, they have some good luck, I think they can hit 6. I'm not gonna say much more over 6, but yeah, I think they can do it. How about you, Kyle?
I'm going to go bold, all right? It's not too bold. It's actually...
Don't say 2. Don't say 2.
No. It's not too bold. It's average. I'm going to give you a situation, and I'm going to compare it to this team. But we didn't have as many wins as them last year. Obviously, the defense was atrocious last year for us. We have greatly improved, and we have a head coach who is a guru. If you look at the Jets last year, I don't know how in the blue hell they finished 8-8, but they did. I feel like we could pull off 8-8. We're going to have growing pains, new coach, new coaches, key plug-in players, new players. It's growing pains. This season is going to be frustrating, but it's going to be frustrating in the right direction. I'm going to peg us over, and I'm going to peg us right now. We'll talk more in the preview show, but I see us splitting 8-8 this year, and I'm okay with that with all the stuff we have.
6 wins is pretty close to the 5.5 they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you count a tie as a 0.5, I don't know.
I'm knocking on wood right now at my dresser at my bed, but I don't see how we could do much worse than the quarterback carousel and the horrible defense we played last year. So I would agree with that too. 6 is good, but I'm going to give us the upper end of 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right.
So, yeah, definitely thanks for everyone who sent in questions. Like I said, we'll probably be doing that probably pretty regularly now, so you can send those to us at Twitter at PurplePeoplePod. All throughout the week.
All right, and then you have some training camp observations to go through before we talk about the depth chart and preview the game against the Raiders.
Yes, definitely. I spent the last 3 days up in Mankato, 2 of which were all dedicated to the Vikings. A heck of a lot of fun. Highly recommend the trip to anyone who can make it. So I got some quick observations that I pulled away from camp. The first of them, you guys had kind of touched upon a little bit, was watching Mike Zimmer coach this team and how it is completely different than how I've seen, when Brad Childress did it or when Leslie Frazier did it. Players are being held much more accountable, and you can see it's more up-tempo. He's got them in pads and actually scrimmaging against one another way more often than what I've seen in the past. They're actually getting work done. And it's not just work, it is, he'll work with, like you mentioned, Xavier Rhodes or Harrison Smith, and he'll pull them aside, and you can see him actually coach them up. And then they'll go run another play, and then he'll pull Xavier back off to the side, and he'll be working with him one-on-one. And it's not just those players. You'll see him do that with everyone, from Teddy Bridgewater to, running backs, defensive backs, whoever. He'll pull players to the side. He's holding them accountable, and he's working with them. It is a big change and a good change from what we've seen in the past.
Thank you for saying accountability. Now everybody won't think I'm crazy.
No, you're definitely not crazy for that.
I'm telling you, the YouTube videos of him, the intensity that he has, I hope and pray these guys soak this up like a sponge, because we're going to be so physical. And the best quote that you'll hear Zimmer say is fundamentally sound. Get your basics right. If you are physical and fundamentally sound, you're going to challenge every single team. I don't care if it's the Patriots at home or if we're away at the Saints, we're going to give them a run for their money, and that should be exciting.
Yeah, like accountability. That's why he makes the team stop, and you know what? We're going to do push-ups. You guys got to be held accountable for it. They're a very vocal staff this year too. Now, you got to remember, when they got the fans around, there's a lot of little kids around. You don't hear a lot of them. But when they move over to the middle, it's you guys have never seen it, but it's 3 fields kind of side by side by side. And so the third one is way off in the distance, and you got the middle one, then the one closest to where the fans sit. So they do a lot of kind of warm-ups and one-on-one drills, whatever, near us. And then when it gets time to actually do some more scrimmage work, some more stuff that they don't necessarily want everyone with their smartphones recording, they'll go over to the middle field and the third field. When they hit those two, you can hear, that's where you hear your coaches yelling at the team and actually doing the big time coaching up. And it carries, and you can hear some pretty interesting things that they're yelling at one another. It's a lot of fun to see.
The only major coach that I wasn't very familiar with was the new defensive coordinator. How's he looking?
I didn't really. He doesn't stand out from the group of coaches, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But his one of the positional coaches, you can hear from. He can be on the third field, and you can hear that guy yelling at them. You can hear North Turner yelling at the offense. I heard him on Friday's scrimmage. They were warming up, and I heard Norv yell at them, "No, that's not right. Go out there and do it again, and you're going to do it again until you guys get it right."
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. That's what I like to hear.
Otherwise, I could spend forever talking about Mankato. Anything that you guys want to ask me about it?
My main curious thing was about that defensive coordinator, so that's all I really had.
2 questions you can give me. It's a 4-part, but it should be really quick because I don't want to make the show last forever. Of any of the rookies or the new guys that we signed offensively and defensively, just name it, and who are some of the actually, you know what? They kind of sound the same question, so it's only 2. Who on the offensive and defensive side of the ball has surprised you? Hey, these guys are actually they could get a roster spot.
Well, I know he's been with the team for a while now, but Marcus Sherrills he really surprised me when I was up there. This is a guy that he's going from special teams, and you can use him on punt returns to, no, he's legitimately starting to look like a corner that you can rely on to make plays. Like, he's going out there and he picked off a ball in front of Cordero Patterson. Now, there's quite a size difference between those two, but Zimmer's getting him coached up, and he was in the right position, and he snagged it and made a play. And then you can see him on special teams continuing to look at the form that we've seen from him last year, and he was able to down a ball probably on the, 3-4 yard line. So Marcus Sherrills is really, there was a guy that stood out that, like, he's going to be fun to watch this year. Rookies, I was impressed with Teddy Bridgewater. I had a chance to talk with Adam about this one earlier. He is, you watch him in the huddle and you can tell that, okay, this is a guy who has a really strong football IQ. He is very vocal and he was very kind of animated in his motions. Dare I say, it reminded me a little bit of when you watch like a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees, how you see him out there and he's making checks, he's calling out the defense, he's moving his players around, like he's doing things before the play that, to be honest, you don't see Christian Ponder doing that. You don't even see Matt Castle doing a lot of that. But you see Teddy Bridgewater out there doing those kinds of things. And it's fun to watch. And he was able to, there was one play, Jarius Wright was, he was double covered. And Teddy was able to just thread the needle and get the ball to him. And a lot of fun to see from him. He also has a hard count that's going to get us a lot of free first downs. Because him, like I said, with him being vocal and loud like that in the pocket, he's just getting players to jump just by his hard count. And it's, he looks like a rookie. I don't want to get too far forward with it. Like, I do think Matt Castle should start. But Teddy Bridgewater in next season is going to be our starter for the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you transitioned well, because next thing we're talking about is the depth chart.
Yeah.
The Vikings released their first, quote, unofficial, unquote, depth chart. And it's pretty unofficial, to tell you the truth, especially since there's one player listed twice, and a couple players in positions that I really don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
On the offensive side of the ball, as expected, Matt Castle listed ahead of Teddy Bridgewater with Christian Ponder as the QB3. Bridgewater will have to work during the preseason to earn that number one quarterback spot if he can, and we will see that coming up in games, because Teddy Bridgewater will be working with the first-team offense and the first-team offensive line this preseason, even on Friday. In Friday's game, that'll happen, so that's exciting. As far as the offense goes, really not a ton of surprises. We got Peterson, Castle, Felton, Jennings, a double Jennings. I don't know why they listed two Jennings, but got to have all the Jennings you can have, I guess.
Two Jennings are better than one.
Jennings all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm assuming one of those is supposed to be Patterson.
Mm-hmm. You know what kind of surprised me a little bit? They labeled the F receiver position. Greg Jennings, Jarius Wright, and Adam Thielen. I thought it was interesting that Adam got that high of a nod at that position.
Absolutely.
He's a player that I know everyone in Mankato is rooting for, because that's, he played college.
I believe he was given the title Mr. Mankato this year.
Yeah, and he's looking pretty solid in training camp. He's one to watch in preseason, definitely to see what I can do. I believe Adam's got a real shot to make the team.
Yep.
Interesting fact, one more with you. I'm sorry. I'm just throwing it in here. I thought it was cool. I'm looking at the running back position, or halfbacks. Obviously, it's AP and then Matt Asiata, but Jerick McKinnon ahead of Joe Banyard. I'm so stoked to watch this kid. I'm sorry. I just want to throw that in there.
He's quick. I got to throw that out there. He is quick.
That boy is fast. The only spot on offense that really kind of caught me off guard was the tight end position. A lot of people had expected bigger things from AC Leonard, but it looks like the top 3 tight ends on the list are Rudolph, Ellison, and Ford, and personally, that's probably the way I feel it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
The defensive side of the ball, though, there's some interesting stuff on there. The first major surprise to me was Isame Faciane being the last person on the list for the 3 technique, behind both Keaston Randall and Tom Johnson. Personally, I had bigger expectations for Faciane than that, but maybe that's just me getting ahead of myself.
Little bit, because like I say, I don't know how much stock we should really be putting into this depth chart at this point in time.
Well, still, it's something to go by because this is the order that we're most likely going to see the players in for the preseason, at least the first preseason game.
Yeah.
So this will dictate at least that. I wouldn't look into it as being a precursor to cuts on the 53 or anything like that, but for now it's a nice guideline to look at for depth charts going into the next preseason game.
Fun fact, like I talked about Zimmer, because I love watching any videos I can on him. They were asking him earlier in the week, like, would you rather have more wide receivers than corners, or how does that work for you? He's like, you can never have too many corners. I'm looking right now. There's 10 listed to include the left and the right. And dude, I'm not kidding you. If we had 9 corners, I wouldn't be upset with it, especially last year. Did you see how injury depleted we got there?
I mean, the secondary was a mess.
Injury depleted, and bad play. Let's get some people into camp and let's throw them at a wall and see who sticks. And we'll pick the best ones in the bunch.
Another of the major surprises to me was newly signed safety Chris Crocker being listed above Antone Exum at strong safety. I have very high expectations for Anton Exum. I really enjoyed watching his tape on him in college. I hope that this is not representative of his position with the team and that he can be able to work up and pass some of these players. But when you look at the guys he's up against, there's a lot of established guys like Jamarcus Sanford and Mr. Raymond, and he may just be at the bottom of the depth chart because he is a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
That could very likely be the reason. But I would have expected him at least higher than the guy that they just signed.
Well, you got to give the veteran the nod, and that would be my guess a little bit as Zimmer is going, rookies, prove yourself. Although Barr is like already pretty much you can pencil him in for a starting spot on this team.
You knew as soon as Barr was picked and Mike Zimmer said that was the player I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You knew that they were going to do everything they could to get him ready and get him just out there to be a force. And that's one guy that you are going to be watching, and he is going to terrorize opposing offenses.
I'm telling you, I'm torn. I don't know if I should get a number 5, or isn't he Anthony
55.
Barr's 55? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pick a jersey because that was really tough for me, but I am so stoked out of raw talent and ability of anybody on the team. I know I said Jerick McKinnon, but Anthony Barr, like you said, he's going to be a beast.
I don't know if everyone out there realizes how big of a guy Anthony Barr really is. Guy's 6'5", 225, and he is just ripped to pieces. Like, you watch him in person, and he ranks right up there with, like, in my opinion, AP for being just like the most physically fit-looking guys on the team.
He's a very intimidating individual, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Right cornerback is another position where I was kind of surprised. Kendall James and Jabari Price listed ahead of Sean Prater was a surprise to me.
Not much from Sean so far. I've got expectations for him, and he's been kind of quiet so far. I'm hoping that he can kind of come out of his shell in preseason.
And a lot of folks seem really disappointed that Michael Mauti isn't higher on the charts.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the major ones that I've seen people really just upset about. It seems like this year the coaching staff is focusing more on physical ability rather than instincts.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking the guys that they think they can develop into great players rather than good players that kind of don't have that kind of ceiling. So I'm not sure how to feel about that, but we'll see.
I'm going to go ahead. You guys are going to get sick of it this week on the podcast, and I don't care. Tell me how bad it is on the Facebook page. Zimmer in his press conferences talking about Anthony Barr. They were like, one of the greatest questions asked, he was like, so are you trying to get Anthony to be less physical and like use his brain more? He's like, I'm actually trying to do the opposite. And that's what you just said, picking out physical abilities. Like I'm guessing he's going for that kind of muscle memory technique. Like I just want I want it to be programmed in so they don't have to use their brain as much, because it'll just rely on their physical talents. And that's what he said about Anthony Barr specifically. So, I mean, you're talking about another linebacker position. That's I think that's cool. I hope it works. Well, do more with less is a good thing to do if it works.
And all you guys got to do, no, that totally makes sense what you just said there, Kyle. And all you guys got to do is call back to last season and look at how the previous staff handled Cordero Patterson versus Joe Webb. And I know I bring that up all the time, but to me that is the perfect example of Leslie Frazier being stubborn and going, I'm going to start Joe Webb because he's the veteran on the team, and I feel like he knows more than what the rookie coming in does. But the rookie has a much higher ceiling, even if he doesn't know what the playbook is. So what I love about Mike Zimmer is he's going, none of that bullshit. Anthony Barr is a physical freak. Get on the field and play. Like, let him make plays. I'm getting worked up over it, but like I like it because it's exciting, and like I feel like we're gonna be on the right path and we're gonna win.
I'm gonna throw one more reference from last year, just because we can kind of take a dump on last year because it was so bad. We're talking about starting Joe Webb over Flash, and like just I don't know, make up some double reverse and let him run, just see what happens. I mean, why not? And then we have the corner position, which now we can take a dump on another player because he's not here. I'm sorry, guys. It's not my style. But, like, you're talking about Marcus Sherrills making the leap. If you would have just coached him a little better, who knows, that might have been it. But, no, you wanted to pencil in Chris Cook, who was absolutely terrible for us. And, who knows? I would rather take the guy who has heart rather than, oh, well, you're so big and you fit this physically. No. Get the guy out there who's going to make that diving effort, and it's going to turn into an interception, which somebody never had. But we'll get that over. I just want to throw that in there. I love the mentality. You guys should be fired up listening to this about what's to come.
Oh, we're excited.
Yeah,
definitely excited.
One last thing, then we can move on. Because who had heart? John Randall had heart.
It's true. Absolutely.
Good reference.
The middle linebacker position is the last one I wanted to touch on. Jasper Brinkley penciled in as a starter there with Audie Cole behind him and Mike Zimmer, the linebacker, behind him. So it looks like it's going to be Barr, Greenway, and Brinkley starting it off next week, which feeds in nicely to what we're going to talk about with previewing the game Friday night, August 8th, 7 p.m. Central Time, versus the Oakland Raiders at home, the first preseason game. Football is almost here, folks.
Vikings football.
Skull, baby. Let's do this. I don't care if it's preseason. I'm going to talk for like 2 seconds, and I'm going to give the floor because we were talking so much this week. Things to watch I'm excited for. I'm not going to ask you guys because you guys could say a million things, but I want to see Teddy, obviously. I want to see a little bit more of Cordero than you might see in a first game. I want to see some of these plays Norv was talking about. I've drawn 10 plays for Cordero Patterson. Well, let me see 3 of them. I don't care if you don't complete them, but hey, whatever. Offense, I mean, we know our offense didn't change that much. Obviously, AP's not really going to be involved, but defense. Holy crap, Anthony Barr. I want to see, a little bit of Anton Exum if we can get that out there. But I'm going to flip this around and, fry everyone's brain. If you're a good, true NFL football fan, I'm just going to name off some of the Oakland Raiders because I'm going to tell you what, if there could be a sleeper team besides the Bills, even though they lost Kiko, it might be the Raiders. I'll read this off to you, and I'll be done in 30 seconds. You have, on the offensive side of the ball, the Derek Carr situation. I thought we were going to take him. He was one of my 3 picks that I thought we were for sure going to take. Running backs shook up. They have kind of a combination now. Darren McFadden was, injury prone, but Maurice Jones-Drew is penciled in at their starter. But let's take a look at their defensive side of the ball because they got good. The guy that I wanted, best linebacker out of the draft, Khalil Mack, he's going to be a beast. They snug Justin Tuck from the Giants. And I'm pretty sure who else am I looking for? They have Carlos Rogers, DJ Hazen, and they still have Charles Woodson. They have a decent defense. So be on the lookout for that. It should be a good game, at least for the first quarter if you want to watch some of their big name talent. But don't sleep on the Raiders either. And I hate that I just said that.
The thing I love is that they have, although it's an aging defense, it's a very experienced defense. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get to see Matt Castle and Teddy Bridgewater go against experienced players. Matt Castle is slated to start the game. Bridgewater is supposed to play 2 quarters, some of that with the first-team offensive line. So that'll be fun to watch. The thing that really got me about this is that both the Raiders and the Vikings seem to have the same draft strategy going into the draft this year. They both picked their pass rushers at linebacker first, and then they went and they got their quarterback, whether it's Barr and Mack or whether it's Carr and Bridgewater. These are 2 teams that seem to have similar ways to build their team, except the Vikings are trying to get younger and build through the youth, and the Raiders are trying to bring in the veteran experience and have that kind of grow with them. So to me, it's really interesting to see that dynamic of the age and experience versus the youth and exuberance. I think that's really what it's going to come down to.
Mm-hmm. Longevity for us, more years to come. But you're right, they have good experience at some of those good positions, and I thought it was really cool they snagged Maurice Jones-Drew. That was actually really cool. And look at that. It opened up. Oh, here's a plug for the day. We brought the Jaguars into the conversation. Maurice Jones-Drew left and Toby Gerhart in. Good luck this year, Toby. I miss you, man.
Yeah, well, at least some of us miss you.
Hey, I was a big Gerhart fan, too. I wish him nothing but the best of luck down there.
I hope he can succeed, but I'm not going to expect it.
That poor guy, having to sit behind the best running back, too. I felt so bad for him. But
and then when he does get his chance, he fumbles all over the place and gets injured all the time. Just a headache as a backup running back.
I'll keep my comments on the Raiders game here pretty quick. What I am looking forward to seeing the most is Linval Joseph and Sharif Floyd side by side together on the field. This should be the Williams Wall 2.0. These guys are going to be fun to watch together. Now, expectations should be tempered back just a little bit. Probably way more. Let me take that even back a little further than that even, because we got to remember this is preseason week 1. And we want to see exotic blitzes and Norv Turner creative offenses.
It's going to be vanilla.
Vanilla. Yes, exactly. But I'm still really excited to see our first look at this team, because even vanilla Mike Zimmer is going to be better than I'm sorry, but that's going to be better than Bill Musgrave, Leslie Frazier going at full steam from last year.
You had mentioned Linval Joseph, and I wanted to bring up something that I wasn't there in training camp, but I've been following the play-by-plays, and a lot of the guys are doing a great job of that on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that got me excited was hearing how Linval Joseph has been doing his best Dikembe Mutombo impression, just swatting down passes at the line.
I've seen a few that he hit down by Matt Castle. Matt Castle is still doing this thing where he throws his passes way too low and every other one gets batted down at the line of scrimmage. I hate that.
Matt Castle's not a little guy either. He's pretty big.
But
I don't get it.
For some reason, his passes just seem to get batted down at the line. I don't know why, but
yeah. So that's something to look forward to too. That middle of the defensive line, those 2 guys, the young guys there in the middle. Really just excited to look forward to Friday, August 8th. 7 p.m. Central Time. I know I'll be watching. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, of course.
I want to, man. I'm in a band, and we're actually doing a twofer this weekend, but I'm going to be checking my phone. I might even check it during a couple of songs. I don't know. I love Vikings football, and I know all of you do, and I don't know if you're trying to segue out, but I'm going to leave it up there. Give us your feedback. We talked a hell of a lot this week, but Good
Yeah,
Lord.
this is a long show.
Mhm.
We're running 35, 37 minutes, but it's just hard not to be so excited when there's so much going on right now,
It's the
and we're
kickoff
so
for the
close
new
to
season.
Vikings football.
Mhm.
It's so great. On that note, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Check us out on Twitter at Purple People Pod.
Yeah.
Go to the Facebook page. We're pretty popular over there. We have surpassed our 1,000 likes. I'm personally very excited about that milestone, and I hope that we can have it grow even more.
Share it with your friends.
Absolutely. You can check out my work at the Viking Age. I'd appreciate that greatly. I also have my Walking Dead page, undeadwalking.com. You can go there and check that out if you're into The Walking Dead, which if you're not, you should be. Personally, that's how I feel. And at that, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and remind them to stay classy, Minnesota.